Let's go now to Wisconsin Congressman Mike Gallagher, who's on the House Armed Services Committee. Well, it's great to see you. When we were putting the show together, I said to my team, I want not just some random member of Congress, but someone who really knows what they're talking about. And here you are. So what I want to do is just put to you, as someone who's really supported very strongly what the actions of the president in the last couple of days, some of the arguments that have been made against it. And I'd love to get your response. First of all, a lot of people have just been saying, look, America, as leader of the free world, can't just go around killing people in other countries in this manner. That's a terrible example to set. What's your response to that?
I would say that this Qasem Soleimani was the head of a designated terrorist organization. He had the blood of over 600 of my brothers and sisters in uniform on his hands. And the world is now a safer place because of the president's courageous call to take him and Abdulmahdi al-Mohandes off the battlefield. I would further say that for those in the media who seem to be parroting the Supreme Leader's talking points by blaming the Trump administration for needless escalation, they are willfully ignoring the past year's worth of history whereby Iran has systematically escalated, and the Trump administration's response has indeed been very measured. Throughout it all, the president and his advisors said, do not kill Americans. Do not kill Americans. Soleimani and the Iranians and the Iranian proxies in Iraq disregarded that red line, and this president, unlike his predecessor, reinforced that red line. So can we all not unite the country around the simple idea that if you kill Americans, we will kill you?
I think very clearly put, completely agree there. Let's go to the next argument, and you're seeing this really taken to absurd proportions now by a lot of people, which is that what the president's done has put us on the brink of war. He's taking us into a new Middle East war. My view, as I've just expressed, is that that doesn't need to follow at all. But with your experience in these issues, could you just explain why this doesn't have to lead to war?
Well, my experience is that every time we show credible resolve, every time we demonstrate American strength and willpower, the Iranians back down. And that's not just recent history. That goes back to Ronald Reagan getting elected in 1980 and then releasing the hostages. That goes back to 2003 when they suspended their nuclear program. The list goes on and on. I think to believe that argument, you also have to ignore what's going on throughout the region right now. Both within Iraq, we've seen consistently since October, protesters risking their lives in Tahrir Square to protest Iran's influence in the country. The media isn't telling you about the people that are celebrating the death of Soleimani right now, nor about the protests that are happening in Lebanon or within Iran itself. All of this suggests a simple and obvious thing. Iran is in an increasingly weak position, and we have ignored their militia building for the last 10 years, but now for the first time in a decade, we are not ignoring it. Now, will this work out? I don't know. We have to have the Iraqis choose themselves to expel Iranian influence from their country. But if they do, we should be prepared to work with them because, after all, that is our most important national security interest in the Middle East. It is resisting Iran's domination of the region. And by restoring our credible deterrent, which I believe the president has gone a long way towards doing, this gives us the best opportunity over the long term to reduce our force presence in the Middle East and focus on other areas of the world, particularly Asia, that are far more important for our national security.
Really interesting. Last quick question. We don't have a huge amount of time, but I just wanted to address the ISIS point, which I touched on earlier, which is a lot of people have been saying, well, actually, Iran, because they oppose ISIS, was helpful in our fight against ISIS, and this is going to undermine that. What do you say to that?
I would say they're two sides of the same coin. Salafi jihadists have flocked to places like Syria and Iraq in order to fight Shia extremists on the other side. And so what gets squeezed out is all of our potential partners in the middle. And we have to be interested in working with people that not only want to push back on the Sunni variant of terrorism and extremism, but as well on the Shia variant of terrorism and extremism. And we know that the Iranian regime is the world's foremost sponsor of terrorism. And so there is a sensible path in the middle where, with a very light footprint, we can have a high impact working by, with, and through our partners on the ground in the region and not have to do everything ourselves.
Well, there you go. You see, I told them you knew what you were talking about. Congressman, really great that you could be with us tonight. Really appreciate it and hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Steve.